So as a young person, and by young I mean like college age person looking for a job right now, everyone around me thinks it's fucked. I think it's probably fucked. That's why I'm talking to a camera right now on fucking YouTube. Fuck my life, right? But apparently this is an across the country thing. Only about 43% of Americans aged 15 to 34 think it's a good time to find a job in their local area versus roughly 64% of people 55 plus, which is roughly like a 20 plus point gap, which is crazy for so many reasons. First of all, it's crazy because usually it's the young people who are optimistic about getting a job, and the old people are usually more pessimistic. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like as my dad got older and older, he got more and more pessimistic. So that's crazy thing number one. Crazy thing number two, why are so many old people optimistic about getting a job? Dude, you're at 55 plus, there's no way you're getting a job, no matter what. Like, who's hiring a 55-year-old man to do anything at that point? And secondly, you probably already have a job, so you're talking out of your ass. You have not seen the job market at all. And thirdly, historically, younger Americans has always been more optimistic than older people about job prospects, and this flipped only recently. And globally, that pattern is also usually the same thing. You know, youth are more optimistic, older people more pessimistic. Obviously, there's some outliers: China, Hong Kong, Norway, Serbia, UAE, but the US has the biggest gap. You know, it's not just the US youth being down that's like the problem, it's the relative difference of like 20 plus point difference. That's crazy. Like, why is there such a difference in feeling? What are the older people seeing that younger people aren't? What are the younger people seeing that older people aren't? I think though, I don't know about the 55 plus crowd. I feel like everyone who's 55 plus I've met has been living in like a whole other world, honestly. Like, but anyways, speaking for me and my age group, obviously I live in the Bay. You got to talk about AI, automation. You always hear about companies not hiring for entry level or white collar jobs anymore because AI is basically just replacing them. And from a macro perspective too, there's hiring freezes, you see tech layoffs, companies doing more with less because they realize they're overbloated, and also just housing and wealth. Like, as a young guy, we're constantly being fed on TikTok, on Instagram, that boomers, this baby boomer generation, they're sitting on massive asset piles, something like tens of trillions in housing and financial assets, in businesses, and the great wave is gonna hit us where the baby boomers are gonna sell, and then the biggest transfer of wealth since like forever. Well, while we're waiting for that to happen, what can we do? No one's really saying anything. So until that happens, I don't know. Right now, young people are facing high rent, high home prices, and student debt. So yeah, until that great wave that may or may not happen, no one's really, we're kind of fucked, you know. And also, what makes us more fucked is that we are the generation of social media. On TikTok, Instagram, probably not Facebook actually, but every success story, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Miami, LARPing is a trend. It's like 24/7 with this shit. Like, every day you just see people being more successful than you, and that really, like, you're like, damn, I should have done more with my life. Even though they're probably LARPing, or like, even though it's probably fake, if you don't know what LARPing means. But like, it's just constantly, you feel like you're not doing enough, even though you might be very average, right? And you're constantly also being reminded that even being average fucking sucks. So you're constantly just getting shit on by everything, pretty much, actually. Um, but anyways, let's also think about, why are older people so optimistic? I think it's probably because a lot of these older Americans, like I said, they're not actively job hunting. They're already settled in careers or retired, so they see stability. Like they're just looking at themselves. They're saying, "Fuck, I could get a job." Like I promise you, if I were an older person right now, I'd probably be thinking, guys, just walk into a store and ask for a job. Because isn't that how they probably got their jobs? No, that's not how it works anymore. There's resume drops. There's easy applications on LinkedIn. Every job, even for an ice cream shop, gets like 100 applications. It's not the same world. And they don't really see that. They just sit there with the jobs they have because they learned it from their parents of just sitting there from the jobs they had, and with decades and decades of asset appreciation added on with housing, stocks, retirement accounts, they have lots and lots of money from not doing as much as kids are doing these days. And I don't know much about their life, so I can't say if that's completely true, but that's what it feels like looking at the baby boomers compared to us younger folks these days. And one last thing though about the older guys being so optimistic. I know a lot of tech older people because I'm in the Bay, but I feel like a lot of them probably aren't tuned into AI or TikTok or social media as much as we are. And they don't really get hit by these fears of automation and these fears of not being like fucking driving a Bugatti or driving a Tesla all day. Not, just not because like they aren't interacting with it, but structurally because they just don't have any of these new tech things, you know. So let's do a reality check here though. One last thing. Obviously, the older people are very optimistic, and obviously younger guys like us aren't as optimistic. But I do also want to give us some hope though, because we're not at a historic rock bottom. There has been more pessimistic periods in past decades with like post.com even, or like the Great Recession, or like this freaking 2008. We have been more pessimistic and we have gone out of it. So I'm sure this will all pass. It always does. And like even compared globally, the US youth these days, my generation, are still more positive than peers in a lot of other countries. And I guess the real story here that I'm trying to tell is that it's not total despair among us, and we shouldn't be looking at it that way. The real story here is, why is there such a big gap between me and the 55 plus? Where is that coming from?